Welcome to our long-range look at winter 2025 to 2026. As the days grow shorter and the chill sets in, many of us start to wonder what the coming months will bring. Will we see snow-dusted rooftops and icy mornings, or will it be another season of gray skies and persistent rain? In this special report, we'll guide you through the key trends and possibilities for the months ahead, helping you prepare for whatever winter has in store. Today we're diving into the latest climate forecast system data to uncover the big weather themes for December through January. Our team of meteorologists has been poring over advanced models, satellite imagery, and historical records to bring you the most up-to-date insights. We'll look at how global climate patterns like El Niño and the North Atlantic Oscillation could influence our local weather, and what that means for communities across the UK. This isn't a day-by-day forecast, but a broad overview of what might shape our winter. We'll highlight the major factors that could drive temperature swings, sudden cold snaps, or prolonged wet spells. Think of this as your seasonal roadmap, a way to anticipate the mood of the months ahead, even if we can't predict every flake of snow or drop of rain. We'll explore the chances for a white Christmas, fighting frost, or a mild wet season. Are we likely to wake up to a blanket of snow on Christmas morning, or will it be a season of drizzle and damp? We'll also discuss the likelihood of severe weather events, such as icy roads, heavy snowfall or flooding, and what you can do to stay safe and prepared. By tracking high and low pressure systems, we'll build a week-by-week picture, starting with early December, through Christmas, and into January. We'll show you how these shifting patterns can bring sudden changes, from calm, crisp mornings to blustery storms. Our analysis will help you understand when to expect the coldest spells, and when milder, wetter weather might take over. We'll break down the meteorological jargon and explain what these patterns mean for you. Whether you're planning festive travel, looking after your garden, or just want to know when to dig out your warmest coat, we'll translate the science into practical advice. Our goal is to make the forecast accessible, so you can make the most of the season, whatever it brings. By the end, we'll compare this winter's potential to recent years and offer a clear summary. You'll see how this season stacks up against memorable winters of the past, whether it's likely to be harsher, milder, or somewhere in between. We'll also touch on how climate change is shaping our winters and what trends we might expect in the years to come. Let's begin our journey into the winter of 2025 to 2026. Get ready to discover what the season could hold and how you can stay one step ahead of the weather, whether you love the magic of snow or dread the winter chill. We're here to help you navigate the months ahead with confidence and clarity. December in the UK often arrives with a familiar scene. A classic westerly flow dominates the weather, bringing with it mild temperatures, persistent cloud cover and frequent rain showers. Streets glisten under the drizzle, umbrellas bloom like flowers along busy pavements, and the countryside feels damp and alive. This is the kind of weather many in Britain expect as winter begins. Gray skies, soft rain, and a gentle, almost comforting chill in the air. It's a time when the landscape feels wrapped in a blanket of moisture, and the days, though short, are rarely harsh. But this familiar pattern doesn't last for long. By the end of the first week, a significant change is underway. High pressure begins to build to the east of the UK, acting like a barrier and blocking the usual Atlantic weather systems. This shift cuts off the supply of milder, moist air from the west, and the weather map starts to look very different. The skies begin to clear, and the wind direction changes, signaling the arrival of something colder and drier. As this high pressure takes hold, it ushers in a flow of cold, continental air from the east and northeast. The result is a dramatic drop in temperature, especially overnight. Mornings greet you with sharp frosts, your breath visible in the crisp air, and car windscreens coated in a layer of ice. The countryside transforms, with fields sparkling under the first rays of sunlight and the world feeling suddenly quieter, as if winter has pressed pause on the usual bustle. In the south, this cold air often leads to stubborn morning fog. Thick mists roll across fields and linger in valleys, making for slow, cautious journeys on rural roads. The fog can be dense and persistent, sometimes refusing to lift until well into the afternoon, adding a mysterious, almost magical quality to the landscape. With the Atlantic rain cut off, rainfall becomes scarce, parks and gardens dry out, and the ground hardens underfoot. The air feels sharper, and the sense of winter deepens. The lack of rain means fewer puddles and less mud, but it also means the landscape can look stark and bare, with leafless trees silhouetted against pale skies. While widespread snow remains unlikely during this period, the cold is ever present. Each day demands an extra layer of clothing, and every breath reminds you of the season's chill. Frosty mornings become routine, and the simple act of walking outside feels invigorating if not bracing. The first half of December is defined by this transition, a shift from unsettled, wet weather to a regime of cold, dry days and even colder nights. It's a time of change, as the UK moves from the familiar dampness of early winter to a more classic, crisp cold. So, prepare for a string of frosty days and even colder nights ahead. The air will bite, the mornings will sparkle with frost, and winter, in all its quiet intensity, is truly underway. This is just the beginning of the season's story. In the second week of December, the cold deepens across the United Kingdom, marking a clear shift from the lingering autumnal dampness to a more biting, unmistakable winter chill. The landscape transforms as the sun rises over frosted fields, and the countryside awakens beneath a silvery glaze. Each morning, the air feels sharper, and the ground crunches underfoot, signaling the arrival of a new, colder phase in the season. As high pressure builds and gradually shifts northward, it acts like a barrier, drawing in bitter, easterly winds from the heart of continental Europe. These winds sweep relentlessly across open fields and through rural villages, carrying with them a raw, penetrating cold that feels far more intense than the temperatures alone might suggest. This so-called blocking high is a powerful force in the atmosphere, keeping the milder, wetter Atlantic air at bay. Instead of the usual rain and drizzle, the UK finds itself locked into a stubbornly wintry pattern. The skies often remain a steely gray, with thick clouds hanging low over the countryside, and the sun making only brief, pale appearances. As these easterly winds travel over the cold waters of the North Sea, they pick up moisture, which is then deposited as snow showers along the eastern and southern coasts. Seaside towns and coastal villages wake to the sight of swirling flurries, and the sound of snowflakes tapping against windows becomes a familiar winter melody. While the prospect of heavy, disruptive snow remains low, these wintry flurries are enough to coat the landscape in a delicate white dusting. Persistent frost lingers on grass and rooftops, especially in the east, and each morning brings a fresh layer of icy sparkle to parks and gardens. The air is crisp, and the cold seems to settle in, refusing to budge. By the middle of the month, the high-pressure system begins to drift southward, but the chill remains unbroken. Now, a southeasterly flow takes over, maintaining the cold grip on the country. The wind rustles through frosted hedges and sweeps across open fields, carrying with it the unmistakable bite of winter. The first half of December is defined by a pattern of cold, dry, and frosty weather. Rural roads glisten with frost in the early light, and the countryside is painted in shades of white and pale blue. The air is so clear and crisp that every breath feels invigorating, and the world seems quieter, muffled by the persistent cold. Occasionally, snow showers drift in from the east, dusting rooftops and pavements with a fine layer of powder. People bundle up in thick coats and scarves, bracing themselves against the chill as they go about their daily routines. The main story, however, is the relentless, persistent cold that settles over towns and cities alike. It's a classic setup for a wintry run-up to Christmas. Villages and towns are transformed into festive scenes, with frosty gardens and twinkling lights creating a magical atmosphere. The cold air adds to the seasonal spirit, making every hot drink and warm fire feel even more comforting. So, as December unfolds, bundle up and embrace the season. Winter is in full force, and the chill in the air is here to stay, at least for now. As we approach the final week before Christmas, the cold grip loosens, blocking high pressure weakens, letting milder Atlantic air push back in. High pressure shifts to the southwest, bringing a milder southwesterly flow. The jet stream stays south, so storms are limited but cloud and rain increase. Residual cold lingers in the north, so sleet or snow is possible on higher ground. The UK becomes a battleground between retreating cold and advancing mild air. The days before Christmas are unsettled, with a mix of rain, frost, and fog. The weather is in transition. Anything can happen. Christmas Eve brings a ridge of high pressure, settling the weather just in time. Expect a dry, calm day, followed by a sharp overnight frost. Many will wake to a crisp, white landscape. Christmas Day stays cold and settled in the south with lingering frost and fog. Where fog lifts, enjoy bright winter sunshine. Where it lingers, expect a gray, chilly day. In the north, Milder Atlantic air tries to push in, bringing cloud and some rain later. The dream of a widespread white Christmas is unlikely. Frost is the main festive feature. For most, it's a classic cold, frosty Christmas, not a snowy one. Enjoy the festive chill. Boxing Day sees milder Atlantic air sweeping southeast, ending the cold spell. Scotland and Northern Ireland turn milder and wetter, with rain and wind replacing frost. The south starts cold, but cloud and rain arrive by evening as the Atlantic wins out. By December 27th, the whole UK is under a mild, wet, and windy regime. The familiar Atlantic pattern dominates, with above-average temperatures and little frost. Snow lovers will be disappointed, but travel becomes easier for holiday journeys. The cold, dry start to December is a distant memory. New Year's Eve remains mild and unsettled, but change is coming. As the year turns, a northerly wind develops, bringing a sharp drop in temperature. New Year's Day starts cold, with snow showers possible in eastern Scotland, northeast England, and down the east coast. Frost returns, and the wintry feel is back after the brief Atlantic interlude. The first days of January are cold and breezy, with a real risk of snow in the east. The switch to northerly winds marks a dramatic return to winter. January opens with a bang. Cold, frosty, and potentially snowy. Winter is back in charge. Early January sees high pressure rebuild, bringing dry, frosty weather. The high shifts toward Scandinavia, setting up a classic severe cold spell. Easterly winds return, pulling in frigid air from Europe and Siberia. Temperatures plunge, and the risk of snow increases, especially as the high retrogrades toward Greenland. Winds turn north-northeasterly, drawing in Arctic air and boosting snow potential. Any Atlantic system meeting this cold could trigger widespread snow. This setup has produced some of the UK's heaviest snowfalls in the past. The second half of January keeps the cold locked in, with blocking highs dominating. January 2026 could be one of the coldest, snowiest in years. Prepare for a true winter blast. As January ends, the cold spell finally breaks, with milder, wetter Atlantic weather returning. This winter is a story of phases: cold and frosty early December, a brief mild spell at Christmas, then a deep freeze in January. A white Christmas is unlikely, but snow chances rise in mid-December and especially January. Blocking highs to the north and east drive the cold, setting up the potential for significant snow. If the model is right, January could be the coldest since 2010. Long-range forecasts are never certain, but the signals for a classic cold winter are strong. We'll see if this wintry tale comes true.